Yo, what's going on, y'all? Today, I want to give my first and honest thoughts on the BO7 Zombies reveal today. Now, we didn't really get a whole bunch. We kind of got some teases, but we got quite a lot of information based on what the zombie YouTubers got to see when they were flown out at Treyarch last week. And so, I just want to give my first and honest thoughts, what I think seems great and what I don't like about it. And I'm going to talk about the pros first. And the first thing I want to say, based on what we've seen, is that so far the game visually looks a lot better than what BO6 did. I wasn't a huge fan on just what BO6 zombies looked like. I thought the atmosphere just wasn't really there. And they said when BO6 was revealed that they were going away from facility maps, which just was not true. We got so many facility maps. But BO7 actually looks like they're going away from that. And the map that we're getting is like a transit remake, which is something that a lot of fans have been asking for a while, and we're finally getting it. I never thought we would, but we actually are. And so far what we've seen, it actually looks pretty good. The atmosphere, the colors, and everything actually looks like a zombies map, in my opinion. And that gets me really excited. Just so far visually, everything looks amazing, and it's something that I've been craving for in zombies for quite a while, because the past 5 years, the zombie maps have just not really looked that interesting. We've had some few maps that looked pretty good, like Terminus, Citadel, and I mean, you can even argue Shattered Veil looked pretty good, but I don't think they're anything close to what like BO3 or BO2 brought to the table. And so far, BO7 looks like it's kind of coming back to that standard. Another thing I do want to talk about is the return of intro cutscenes. And not only are we just getting an intro cutscene for this map, but they said that we're getting an intro cutscene for every single post-launch map, which finally, I don't know how this wasn't, just the standard to begin with. I can't believe this wasn't a thing in BO6. I mean, I can understand why it wasn't in Cold War, because, development and COVID was going on, but there's no excuse for BO6. And I'm just glad they're finally going back to intro cutscenes, because that is something that I missed a lot, were the story cutscenes. It made the story more interesting. Now, the BO6 story was not great, and I don't know what they're going to do with it in BO7. I'm not really interested that much. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see the characters return, but I feel like we just got to leave them in the grave, in my opinion. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they can cook with it, but I don't know. We'll have to see until we actually, get it in our hands. But so far, I'm glad they're going back to intro cutscenes. That is a huge W, in my opinion. And the next thing I do want to talk about are survival maps returning. Now, this Transit remake is going to be kind of similar to how Transit was in BO2, where there's different POIs and, different areas you need to go to, which sounds great, Now, it didn't really work in BO2, but that was also 13 years ago, so I think there is potential with it working in modern zombies, but we'll have to see. I mean, they got the, Wonder vehicle, so that sounds pretty cool in my opinion, where you can just like customize it and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of potential behind this map, but they're also bringing survival maps, which like town, farm, all that stuff in BO2 is basically coming back for BO7, and I think that is a huge W. I feel like that should have been in BO6. I kind of wish that was a thing in like BO3 and BO4, basically every game, in my opinion. And I think that is just great, because you can have the hardcore maps, but if you got the casuals that don't really find it enjoyable and just want to hop in and just kill zombies, they can do the survival maps, which is why I think BO2 did a great job with that. I mean, a lot of people love town zombies just because it's so easy, and like, it's simple. You just hop in, get a gun, pack a punch, and just, have a good time. And they're kind of bringing that back with survival maps. And not only were we just getting that for this Transit remake, but they said they're going to do survival maps for the post-launch maps as well, which I think is a great, great feature. I'm so glad they were doing this. This is something that I've been wanting them to add for a long time, and they are finally doing it. So that I am really excited about, and I think there's a lot of potential behind that. Now, honestly, those are all the pros that I gotten out of this. Now, to be fair, we did not get a lot revealed. A lot of the zombie YouTubers kind of kept it very vague, just because, I mean, they can only talk about so much, they're under an embargo, so we'll have to wait until, zombies is actually revealed. But so far, with what I've heard, the cons are kind of disappointing in my opinion. So The first con I want to talk about is that BO6 weapons and gobblegums are carrying forward. Now, the gobblegums I'm fine with, but with the weapons, I'm not a huge fan of. They're going to be doing this when Season 1 launches, I think, with like the weapons and the operators, but I think gobblegums will carry forward at launch, which I think is great. You know, you spend money on gobblegums, you should be able to keep them. But the weapons, I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like that will just kind of kill the entire vibe of what BO7 is trying to do, you know, with the near future, futuristic style game. And I feel like just BO6 weapons just shouldn't be in it. And I don't really want to be using the same weapons I used the year before. I want to use some new shit, you know? And also, like, the operators returning, like, Beavis and Butthead, are we for real? I don't want to see that. As if fans weren't already happy enough, let's just bring it back again. I don't know. I don't think that's really a smart idea. I don't mind, you know, the operator skins because, I mean, I'm playing zombies. But I know for, like, the multiplayer side, a lot of people are mad about that, which rightfully so, because I think it's just stupid in my opinion. I don't really like collabs in Call of Duty. Keep it to Fortnite, you know? This ain't Fortnite. Try to be Call of Duty. Call of Duty should be Call of Duty, not trying Call of Duty to be Fortnite. I don't like that. But that's a multiplayer thing. I'm not really too worried about it. But for zombies, I don't like that BO6 weapons will be in the game. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but we'll have to see. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be similar to how MW3 was, but we'll see. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is that this game is just BO6 2.0, and I think that's very disappointing. They didn't really say there were any new features, like a classic mode. It just seems like we're getting the same stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see. It sounds like, based on what Mr. Waffle Waffles has sounded, and like a lot of the YouTubers, it sounds like we're getting the return of loadouts. We're getting the return of armor, which I think is just a huge L in my opinion. I mean, I'm not asking for the shield return, but I don't like the plating mechanic. I just think that's very dumb in my opinion. I think there's just way better options to do with armor. I think there is potential behind armor. I don't like that you have to buy out the wall. I think that's kind of silly. But there's just a lot of features with BO6 that I just did not like the weapon rarities. That's coming back. I think weapon rarities should just be tied to like pack punch tiers in my opinion. It doesn't sound like there's any new features. Maybe we will be getting the classic starting pistol back. I hope so, because that'd be great. You know, I've been asking for something, and I'm surprised they haven't even done this, is that I feel like they have the easiest fix behind the loadout system. And I made a video about this a year ago, and it's basically you start out with a classic starting pistol, and the way if you want to get your loadout is by building a loadout machine, kind of similar like Pack Punch, where you have to do a quest to build out the loadout machine and you can pick up your loadout. I feel like if they do that, it would literally solve everything. And if you don't feel like doing the quest to get the loadout, you could just, you know, try to rely on RNG and getting it from the box. I mean, I feel like that's just the easiest fix, and I don't know. I feel like there's so many things they could easily fix and they just don't do it. But we'll have to see when they like do a full-on reveal with this. But so far, based on how, you know, the zombie YouTubers sound, they don't really sound all that excited about some of these mechanics coming back, and I don't think really anyone is, because not a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, don't really like the loadout system or the armor system. I think those were the two biggest complaints with BO6 were those two things, and that and like the boss zombie spam, which I hope, you know, they fucking fix, because that was really annoying with the boss zombie spam, and it just really made a lot of the maps not unique, where you're just seeing the same enemies over and over. But that is stuff we'll have to see until they actually reveal it. That has nothing to do with like the core mechanics, but with the core mechanics so far, it seems like we're getting the perk system back, the augments and all that, and the field upgrades and the armor, which I don't know. I feel like it's kind of silly in my opinion for them to just do that again, especially when so many people did not like that in BO6, and was a huge reason why a lot of, you know, zombie fans kind of just weren't interested in BO6. And I don't know, it's kind of disappointing in my opinion. I don't know, we'll have to see until they like do an actual full-on reveal, but based on what the zombie YouTubers sound, they don't sound too enthusiastic about this return. But only time will tell when we actually see full-on gameplay. But yeah, in my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of most of the modern zombies mechanics. I don't mind weapon rarities. I don't really mind armor. I just wish they made like armor a little unique and not just where you buy it and then you play it up. I hate the play it up mechanic. I hate that so much. I don't mind, you know, augments, the perks, field upgrades. I really hope they don't bring back loadouts. I want the classic starting pistol, and I feel like that should just be the standard for zombies is classic starting pistol, because when you just do loadouts, it just kind of kills all progression, where you just get in a loadout and you use the same gun over and over and over, and it's just, in my opinion, really boring and destroys all type of replayability and just makes the game and maps feel all the same. And I feel like with the loadouts returning, if they are returning, we don't know for sure, but it sounds like they are. I'm not really too happy about that, in my opinion. But so far, the maps look great. Visually looks really good. It's a huge step up, in my opinion, which I'm happy about. Return of intro cutscenes, great. Should have been there to begin with. And survival maps is a huge W. And also, I forgot to talk about this, is Dead Ups Arcade 4 is coming, which is awesome. It looks really good, in my opinion, and I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I do think there is potential with like the maps and like the survival game modes. But for the core mechanics, I'm a little disappointed by it. And especially there's no like improvements or shakeup. It's just going to be the same BO6 game. Like, it just feels like we're just doing an expansion, and it's not even like, it feels like we're doing a new game, which I think is kind of disappointing. But we'll have to see. Those are my honest thoughts. Let me know how y'all are feeling down in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.